Hello. I offer some comfort and joy still to anyone who's worried about what appears to be some sort of an agenda on the part of all of our governments in Europe, in Australia, in the United States. So I'm going to tell you about that people are kicking back against this. Whether it's an agenda or not's another matter. And also I'm going to tell you about how ecologically correct you can be when you are making your protests, which should assist you a little bit to feel even better. But I'll start with this. We're talking now about Holland, or the Netherlands, as the natives prefer to call it, so I've been given to understand. It says here, Dutch anti-lockdown protester is mauled by police dogs. Well, and hit with batons as riot cops battle to break up thousands-strong march in Amsterdam against Holland's strict COVID measures. As far as I've read here, suddenly there was a clampdown, a COVID clampdown in Holland on the 19th of December. That's just before Christmas. And they panicked for this reason. Here is a chart, and you'll see that this is the chart of COVID, and there's this spike here right at the end of the graph. And Holland is down there. So it's not like Denmark, for instance, or even the UK, but the Dutch authorities decided that they weren't having any of it. And there's this picture here which shows, a big demonstration and some people in costume. And that note at the front, my Dutch is practically non-existent, but I think that probably means it's not about the virus, it's about control, or something along those lines. So obviously a lot of people are starting to think that the government is getting somewhat above itself, and quite frankly, when they're setting dogs on their own citizens, I'd say they are getting above themselves. The police said they wanted to strike as well, according to this headline. Now let's read this. Riot police tried to break up, and obviously from the tone of that, it's tried to, it didn't work. Thousands of Dutch protesters as crowds gathered in Amsterdam to protest COVID lockdown and vaccination measures in the Netherlands today. Well, now, when is today exactly? Oh, this was posted on the 2nd of January. Okay. Demonstrators, most of whom didn't wear masks and ignored social distancing guidelines, defied the local government's outlawing of the protest due to fears some demonstrators might be planning to attend prepared for violence. I want to say, it's not just this. Apparently, Macron supervised or allowed the idea of putting the EU flag on the Arc de Triomphe in Paris last week, and there was such an upswell of protest that he had to take it down and put up the tricolour again, the French flag. So obviously there's a real feeling abroad in Europe that things are wrong, even among people who spend their lives listening to mainstream media. I know in America many people have felt like that for a while, but not enough. The problem is, we on the internet, we people who are on the internet more often, we think that most people who are often characterised as normies, and that's wrong. They're just people living their ordinary lives who don't have the time to do the sort of things I do. I spend a lot of time trawling through the internet looking for stuff, and so do many of you, but not many people have that sort of time or even those sort of facilities. I have a very good friend in America. He can't afford I asked him if he had Telegram, and he said no, his computer was too old to run the program. And it occurred to me there aren't many people who really don't have the time or the resources to check out things the way I do and the way many of you, my viewers, do. So I think the word normie is insulting. Well, it's meant to be insulting, but it's also very unfair. But even such people, I mean, these people in the streets, they're probably mostly non-YouTubers. And people in America are starting to wake up. Well, it's a bit difficult not to in America, because the obvious incompetence of the American government is just impossible to ignore now, isn't it? So, for instance, Kamala Harris, the vice president, I have to remind you because we never see her anymore, she was losing it in a friendly interview. And it's obvious, she knows she's not up to the job, and it's also probably obvious to most other people on MSM that she's not up to the job either, as is Joe Biden, that is, not up to the job. So all these protests, which actually started in America, are now gathering speed here in Europe as well. So it looks like the authorities are panicking, and not less than the police, who have actually started to set their dogs on their own fellow citizens. Videos on social media showed one man try and escape a police dog biting his hand, and in other clips showed chaos unfold as crowds ran around the city. The demonstration came on the same day Dutch police said they would take action to protest the increasing demands of their work. But union representatives said riot police would continue to work if necessary. Now, what's happening is the police are becoming demoralised, because they are citizens as well when they take their uniforms off. They have to face their neighbours, and they know they're doing a pretty awful job at the moment. And some of them may even be feeling that they're not only doing an awful job, but they're doing a pointless job. Okay. Coronavirus infection rates have been gradually decreasing for weeks in the Netherlands, which reintroduced lockdown measures in November and tightened them further during the holiday season. So, and here are some nice photos. Here's another big demonstration. Here's the dog, and this is what I wanted to tell you about the ecology, you see, because I saw this. Now, you see this. Here's the police, the Dutch police, facing off against the crowd. And I suddenly noticed that one of the policemen appears to be holding, or policewoman, whatever, police person, holding in front of him or herself, depending on self-identification, what appears to be the lid of a laundry basket. So I looked a bit closer, and sure enough, it's made of wicker. And I thought, I wonder if they just run short of shields. And then I found this. Wicker shields against protesters. The mass protests and riots that followed in Holland at the end of January 2021 became the largest in the country in the last 40 years. The footage with them spread all over the world, while many drew attention to the unusual equipment of the Dutch police, which quite massively used woven wicker shields covered with either leather or fabric material with special impregnations. One wonders what the special impregnations might be. I mean, since this is all ecologically correct, maybe it's, rosemary oil, or maybe even tea tree oil, because that's a disinfectant, isn't it? Anyway, the thing is, I just wanted you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that while the police, if you're in Holland, while the police are turning your head to mush with batons, or having your hand chewed off by a German shepherd, you must know that the shields they're using are absolutely biodegradable. Because remember, even more important than a demonstration against lockdowns, we all have to worry about global warming. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo, with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com. And whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe, and share, share, share.